take his land.
Hello, sweet friends. Tonight we're curling up with a calming tale that flows gently through time, beginning where rivers first cradled civilization. Imagine soft breezes rustling tall reeds, dragonflies hovering in warm golden light, and the soft babble of water lulling you into stillness. The stars above glimmer like ancient eyes, watching over this quiet cradle of life. You're standing barefoot on silty soil, where the Tigris and Euphrates weave their way through the warm heart of Mesopotamia. The scent of damp clay and sweet dates hangs in the air, and in the distance you hear the faint jingle of bells tied to the ankles of goats being led home. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And let me know in the comments, where are you listening from and what time is it there? I'd love to know which corners of the world are drifting off together tonight. Now dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You begin to wander through this land of between two rivers, where early farmers once scooped water with simple shovels of woven palm and dreams. They didn't know they were laying the foundation for cities, stories, and sleepy songs that would stretch far beyond their clay homes. The sky above is warm and pink, dotted with the flickers of birds on their way home to roost. Somewhere nearby, a mother hums a song, one her mother taught her, and hers before that. The tune drifts over mud brick rooftops and settles gently over your shoulders. In the nearby town of Ur, children once played beside canals while their parents wrote on small clay tablets with reed pens. You pass one of those tablets now, drying on a windowsill like a little loaf of knowledge. Cuneiform, they called it. A series of wedge-shaped impressions pressed softly into damp clay. The world's first writing, and probably the world's first shopping lists, too. Though historians are still debating whether one early tablet asking for 20 jars of fish was a business invoice or just a really, really hungry fisherman. As the sun dips lower, the sky shifts to a deep blue velvet, and the ziggurat rises before you. It's a great stepped pyramid, its sides echoing the stair-step clouds above it. You climb slowly, gently, each step humming with ancient chants. A sleepy breeze greets you at the top, where soft-bellied cats curl beside incense braziers, and star priests whisper calculations to the night. They gaze at the same moon you see now, charting its moods and patterns with reverent fingers. The scent of cedar wood and warm bread floats up from the city. Down below, market stalls are folding in for the night, their colorful fabrics swaying like sails on a riverboat. A potter extinguishes his kiln with a soft sigh. A storyteller rolls up his mat and bows to the stars. You remember hearing about the star-shaped bread they once made here, baked for Ishtar, the goddess of love, and the morning star. Maybe it crumbled just a little too easily in toddler hands, but its scent was warm and sweet, kissed with date syrup and sesame. A gentle truth rustles through the reeds. Mesopotamia was not one city or people, but a whole patchwork of dreamers. Sumerians, Akkadians, Babylonians, each adding another brushstroke to the great mural of human story. Yet even they weren't quite sure who came first. Historians still wonder whether writing blossomed here in Sumer or drifted in from elsewhere, like pollen on a spring wind. The night deepens. You slip away from the ziggurat and walk beside an irrigation canal. The water mirrors the moon, and frogs sing soft lullabies from the banks. You imagine a small boy lying nearby, counting stars with sticky fingers after a sweet fig treat, and a mother humming while she pats a clay toy ox into shape. Did you know they made rattles here? Tiny ceramic ones, filled with seeds, to jingle for little babies just like you might today. Some things never change. A baby's giggle, a mama's song, the need for something familiar to shake and chew. Further along, you pass by a courtyard where a grandmother grinds barley on a stone slab, her hands rhythmic and sure. She pauses to greet you with a warm nod before turning back to her work. The barley flour will become flatbread by morning, soft and warm, perfect for dipping in honey or wrapping around lentils. You hear a lullaby now, gentle and rhythmic, in a language no one has spoken aloud in thousands of years. Yet the melody feels familiar, like something that lives in the softest part of your memory. You hum along instinctively. Nearby, a statue of a lion with a woman's face watches silently. She was a protector goddess, maybe Lamassu with her calm strength and watchful gaze. Some believed she guarded doorways not just of homes, but of dreams. You pause and place your hand on her stone paw, still cool even in this warm evening. "Thank you," you whisper, though you're not quite sure why. She doesn't speak back, but you feel a stillness settle in your chest. One last glance at the rivers. They shimmer like liquid silver in the starlight. You walk between them, arms out, as if balancing on a dream. Crickets chirp gently. A fig drops from a tree and lands softly on the grass. And just like that, the cradle of civilization rocks you forward, its ancient rhythm swaying softly, singing you into the next chapter of the dream. You step lightly away from the moonlit reeds of Mesopotamia, and the wind seems to shift direction. Warmer now, drier, perfumed with something sweet and old. Sand crunches under your feet as a gentle desert night unfolds before you. The sky deepens to ink, scattered with stars so bright, they look close enough to pluck. The air holds a golden hush, as if time itself is catching its breath. In the distance, under the silhouette of palm trees and stone temples, you see them, pyramids rising like quiet giants from the desert floor, their edges softened by the night. The old kingdom of Egypt welcomes you with the scent of lotus blossoms, the slow plod of camels, and a soothing chorus of distant flutes and frogs by the Nile's edge. Palm leaves flutter in the warm breeze as you wander through sleepy villages nestled against the life-giving river. The Nile's waters murmur like a storyteller, weaving ancient tales into the night air. Somewhere nearby, a crocodile watches with lazy blinking eyes. Don't worry, he's already well fed, and far more interested in napping than nibbling. You probably wouldn't make it through a full Nile boat ride without falling asleep in the sun anyway, so he wouldn't get much of a chase. You stroll past rows of mud brick homes, with painted doors and sleepy goats curled beside woven baskets. A mother with coal-lined eyes carries her toddler in a linen sling, singing in tones low and sweet, as if the tune itself is made of honey. Her song drifts through the doorway like incense, and you follow the trail of scent and sound to a nearby temple. Here in ancient Egypt, even bedtime had a sense of ceremony. Perfumed oils, soft linen sheets, and prayers whispered to the stars were part of the evening ritual. You pass under stone columns shaped like blooming papyrus and feel the cool stone beneath your fingertips, ancient worn smooth by countless sleepy hands before yours. Did you know they believed dreams were messages from the gods? Temples often had special sleep chambers where people could rest and hope for visions. You peek inside one now, a small room lined with smooth alabaster, gently glowing with the light of oil lamps. On the wall, a painted ibis flies across a golden sky, and beneath it, someone long ago once lay down and waited for a divine dream to come. Maybe they dreamed of flying too. Soft laughter drifts from the market square as vendors pack away their goods. A little girl with thick braids and a sticky fig in her hand waves to you, her smile sleepy and sweet. Her father carves tiny wooden hippos for the next day's trade, each one painted in blue and decorated with lotus flowers. These toys, buried lovingly with both pharaohs and fishermen, were thought to guide souls peacefully into the afterlife. But for this child, it's simply a favorite companion at bedtime. As you walk, you pass by a wall covered in bright paintings, people dancing, harvesting wheat, baking bread, playing lutes. One woman is balancing a basket on her head with a cat nestled comfortably inside, looking extremely proud of itself. Cats were treasured here, believed to protect homes and bring good fortune. Some were even pampered with jewelry and treated as honored family members. It's quite possible a royal cat once received better birthday gifts than some minor nobles. Historians still wonder whether cats knew how important they were, or if they simply expected it. You follow the scent of baking bread to a quiet courtyard. Flat loaves are cooling on a stone shelf, still warm from the communal oven. The baker, an elderly man, with kind eyes and flour on his nose, offers you a piece with a smile. It's soft and slightly sweet, flavored with honey and dates. You take a bite and the flavors unfold like a lullaby across your tongue. Simple, timeless, full of care. Nearby, children play a gentle game with knucklebones, giggling under the watchful eyes of their grandmothers. One child sleepily declares herself Queen of the Nile and drapes herself in a cloth robe, while her younger brother insists he's a crocodile who only eats cucumbers. This version of royal politics ends in a tickle fight and a few hiccuped giggles before everyone is bundled off to bed. You notice a beautiful painting on a small piece of papyrus, Ra, the sun god, sailing across the sky in a golden boat. In Egyptian belief, he traveled through the heavens each day and journeyed through the underworld at night, only to rise again with the dawn. As you gaze at the image, the stars above seem to shimmer with approval, and a gentle thought drifts through your mind. Even the sun needs to rest before shining again. Not far from the village, the pyramids stand tall and silent, their surfaces glowing under moonlight. Some say they were built by giants. Others believe the stones walked themselves into place to the sound of ancient music. The truth, of course, is that thousands of skilled workers built them with years of careful planning and love. But there's still mystery in the math. How did they get every block so perfectly aligned? Historians still wonder if they knew some secret we've lost, hidden in the sand like a buried lullaby. You walk slowly along a causeway lined with sphinxes, each one smiling faintly, as if it knows something it's not quite ready to share. Maybe you'll hear it whispered in a dream, just as ancient priestesses once did when they listened for the breath of the gods among the reeds. At last you find a quiet place to rest beside the Nile. The water moves gently, carrying stars on its surface like a cradle rocks a baby. Fireflies dance above the reeds, and a bullfrog begins a sleepy serenade. You lie back on a woven mat, gaze up at Orion's belt, and feel the warmth of the earth beneath you, the same earth that once held queens and stargazers, bakers and babies. And as the desert wind kisses your cheeks and the moon climbs higher, the pyramids hum with quiet wisdom, and Egypt rocks you gently onward, deeper into your dreaming journey. You feel the hush of the Nile fade behind you as the air shifts again, cooler now, a breeze with a hint of clay and cardamom brushing softly against your cheeks. In the distance, a river glimmers like a ribbon of glass, threading its way through a world where streets are straight as lullabies and cities hum with quiet order. You've arrived in the Indus Valley, where ancient dreams unfolded in perfect little rectangles beneath starlit skies. The evening has settled gently over the city of Mohenjo-Daro, one of the oldest known urban centers on Earth. But don't expect towering palaces or booming marketplaces here. No, this place feels calm, almost whispery. Every house seems to know exactly where it belongs. You wander past tidy rows of brick homes, their doors slightly open to the breeze, as if welcoming in the night. Somewhere, water splashes softly. You follow the sound to a public bath. Yes, a bath. Thousands of years ago, the people here built grand pools not for swimming, but for sacred cleansing. You dip your fingers into the cool water, and it ripples like moonlight on your skin. Around the edge, small lamps flicker. Maybe they once floated here during evening rituals, drifting gently across the surface like sleepy fireflies. Despite the ancient age of this civilization, over 4,000 years old, there's something beautifully familiar about it. You pass a small window where someone has placed a row of miniature clay animals, lined up neatly for a curious child. A plump little bull with delicate horns, a soft-eyed dog, a tiger that looks more cuddly than fierce. These weren't just decorations. Many believe they were toys. Perhaps one of the world's very first rattles is lying just around the corner, lost in the dust. A little joke dances through your thoughts. If ancient toddlers were anything like modern ones, that toy probably got flung into a canal 10 seconds after it was made. You stroll past another home and peek inside. There's a painted pot on a low shelf, decorated with swirling lines and tiny birds. It's easy to imagine someone filling it with lentils for dinner, maybe humming to themselves. As they stirred, even in the hush of this old city, echoes of everyday love linger, quiet moments of caretaking and laughter, like footprints in the dust. A gentle drizzle begins to fall, startling in this desert-smooth land. But it's soft and warm, more like a kiss than a shower. You find shelter under a wide overhang and watch as tiny streams form in the stone-cut streets. The drainage here is perfect, engineered, with a care that still impresses today. Historians marvel at the uniform bricks, the planned roads, the peaceful, balanced way of life that seems to radiate from every corner. And yet there are mysteries too. No great monuments, no king's tomb, no deciphered script. The symbols carved on seals and pottery, tiny unicorns, birds, flowing lines, still remain a puzzle. Historians still wonder what these signs meant. Were they names, blessings, recipes for chickpea stew? You smile as a breeze ruffles your clothes and carries with it the scent of cardamom and tamarind. A market must be nearby. Sure enough, you soon wander into a quiet square, where merchants are packing up clay pots and bundles of dyed cloth. The colors, deep indigo, turmeric gold, rose red, look like a sunset folded into fabric. You reach out and brush your hand along the smooth threads. One woman notices and nods to you kindly before wrapping a length of indigo around her baby, who snuggles close and yawns without a care in the world. The homes here have no grand front doors, just small side entries, humble and kind. But you realize that each one has its own well, water right at their fingertips. It feels like the city itself was built with love, care, and community at its core. There's no sign of war or conquest, just balance, harmony, like the slow, steady heartbeat of bedtime. In one alley, you spot a man carving a small seal from stone. He glances up and grins, holding it out for you to see. It's shaped like a bull, bold and sturdy, with script-like symbols beneath it. He presses it into a lump of soft clay, and the image transfers perfectly, a tiny signature from thousands of years ago. He sets it aside, humming a tune that sounds almost like a lullaby. You wander on, stepping past flowering plants and little gardens tucked in corners. The people of the Indus Valley love nature, and it shows in their art, their homes, even their jewelry. Shells from distant oceans, beads made from carnelian, agate, and lapis lazuli glimmer in shop windows. A strand of blue and gold beads dangles in the breeze, and you think of how beautiful it would look on a mama cradling her baby under the stars. As you pass by another building, you realize it's a granary, huge, with air vents and platforms designed for storing grain safely. Imagine that, bedtime snacks secured 4,000 years in advance. Now that's some mama-level planning. But as peaceful as it is here, there's something else too. A question hanging in the warm night air. Why do these cities disappear? There are no signs of war, no great fire, just a quiet fading. Historians still wonder if it was climate change, shifting rivers, or something softer, quieter, like a culture gently choosing to move on. You glance up at the stars. They feel close here, almost like they're listening. You think of the people who walked these streets so long ago, their voices now gone, but their care still etched into every brick. As the drizzle fades and the earth smells fresh and rich, you settle by a flowering bush near a tidy little home. A sleepy child in a linen wrap snoozes beside her mother, who hums and rocks gently on a carved stool. The sound blends with the breeze and the breath of the earth, wrapping you in stillness. And just like that, the gentle order of the Indus Valley carries you onward, soft as rain, steady as love, into the next dream. The soft rain of the Indus Valley fades behind you like the end of a lullaby. And now the breeze carries something new, light, floral, and whispery. You catch the scent of jasmine and smoke, and the far-off sound of chimes dancing in the wind. The sky is pale lavender, and mist clings to rice paddies that stretch like puzzle pieces into the distance. Welcome to ancient China, before emperors, before dragons ruled the festivals, when dreams still drifted quietly across silk-covered hills. You follow a narrow path beside a slow river. Bamboo leaves tap gently against each other, whispering secrets you don't quite catch. Somewhere in the distance, a flute plays a sleepy tune that floats like fog across the water. A water buffalo sighs contentedly as it sinks into the mud for the night, and you think, even buffalo know when to take a break. In this era, people lived close to the land, their homes shaped from wood, clay, and straw. You pass one now, the doorway framed by hanging herbs and wind chimes. In some, a child is giggling as she chases a silk kite her father has just finished painting. The kite flutters above their small courtyard, like a bird made of dreams. And just for a moment, you chase it too, your feet barely touching the ground. They say that in these early days, people believed the sky was a great canopy held up by mountains, and the stars were holes in that cloth, pinpricks of heaven peeking through. You look up. The stars do seem especially close tonight, as if they're watching kindly. Further along, you come upon a grove of plum trees. Their blossoms fall like snow, soft and pink, drifting into your hair and catching on your sleeves. You reach out to touch one, and its cool petal sticks to your skin like a tiny sleepy kiss. Beneath the trees, a woman kneels by a woven basket, wrapping rice dumplings in lotus leaves. She smiles as you pass, the folds of her robe rustling like whispers. Her baby gurgles in a sling, reaching out to bat the falling petals with chubby fingers. You learn later that these little bundles, zongzi, are still made today. Inside is sticky rice, warm and sweet or savory, folded with care and tied with twine. Like a lullaby, they're passed down generation to generation, wrapped with love. As you wander past village homes, you notice something curious. Pottery everywhere. Soft gray jars, red-painted cups, bowls with curling dragons, and flowers drawn in delicate lines. Some of them even have marks etched into them, early hints of Chinese script. Historians still debate exactly how this written language began. Did it grow from knotted robes? Turtle shells? Maybe both. Or maybe, just maybe, it came from a story whispered so many times, it finally needed a place to rest. You pause by a river bank and see just such a turtle shell. It's been scorched and marked with cracks, what they called oracle bones. People once placed them in fire to read the future. You imagine someone holding one carefully, peering into its splits to see whether rain would fall, or a baby would be born safely, or if a journey would go well. It's a little like asking the stars for bedtime advice. And speaking of stars, you hear someone nearby pointing at the sky. An elder with silver hair tied in a neat bun, showing a child the Big Dipper. That one, she says, guides the way home. The child nods solemnly, then promptly begins snoring on her lap. Stars, apparently, can also guide you straight to nap time. As you walk, the land changes. More hills now, and the shimmer of a silk workshop in the distance. Inside, you find rows of spinning wheels and trays filled with cocoons. The process is quiet, slow, and almost meditative. Silkworms spin their tiny threads, and women unwrap them with steady, practiced hands. The silk glistens like moonlight, soft and shimmering. One woman gently wraps a bundle of silk around her newborn, cooing softly. It's hard to imagine a cozier baby. Silk was once a secret, guarded like treasure. Legend says that a princess discovered it when a cocoon dropped into her tea, and as she fished it out, it unraveled into a long, delicate thread. That sounds like something only the dreamiest kind of tea could produce. Outside, lanterns begin to glow as the sun fades behind distant hills. These aren't the bright red ones of modern festivals. These are soft and simple, made from thin paper and oil lamps. They float upward slowly, carrying wishes into the sky. You pause to write one of your own, though the paper vanishes into mist before you even let go. That's all right. The wind carries it anyway. You come to a garden where children are gathered around a quiet storyteller. Her hair is pinned with jade beads, and her voice flows like water. She speaks of Pangu, the giant who cracked the sky open with an axe. Of Nuwa, the goddess who molded people from yellow clay and patched the heavens with 5 colored stones. You lean in, enchanted. These tales aren't loud or frightening. They're like soft threads, myth and memory woven into blankets of belief. And still something tugs at your mind, a mystery. This early society, so gentle, so artistic, so well organized, had no great armies, no known kings. Yet their pottery, their tools, their architecture spread far and wide. Historians still wonder what brought them together, what quiet wisdom kept their communities peaceful and thriving. Maybe it was respect, or rhythm, or lullabies sung in bamboo groves. As the night deepens, you settle into a circle of smooth stones, warmed by the day's sun. Someone hands you a warm cup of tea, fragrant, calming, and just the right temperature. You sip slowly, tasting jasmine, perhaps a hint of ginger. Crickets chirp in the distance, and the gentle creak of a cart rolls by, heading home under the soft glow of the moon. The child with the kite from earlier is now fast asleep on a mat near her parents, curled up with the kite tucked under her arm. You smile, realizing the kite never did make it to the sky, but dreams don't always have to. And just like that, the soft wind of ancient China gathers you up in its silken arms and carries you forward into the next lullaby. The breeze shifts once again, this time saltier, scented with wild thyme, orange blossoms, and sea spray. Your feet crunch gently over seashells as the horizon opens into a glistening blue cradle. Ahead, the Aegean Sea sparkles beneath a sunrise made of dreams. Dolphins sleep in playful arcs, and gulls float lazily overhead. You've arrived on the island of Crete, home of the gentle Minoans, where the sea kisses the earth like an old friend, and every wall seems to be painted with joy. The morning light here is like warm silk. Everything it touches turns to honey. You walk past low, rounded houses with open courtyards, where vines bloom and bees hum lazily over pots of cooling yogurt. Terracotta jars the size of bathtubs line the alleys, their bellies full of olive oil and sweet wine. There's no rush, no worry. Even the chickens seem to cluck more softly here. A young boy skips past with a toy boat carved from driftwood, giggling as he pretends to sail across the Aegean. His sister follows with a daisy crown, half finished, trailing petals as she hums to herself. You hear their mother call them gently, "Time for morning bread," and her voice floats through the air like a lullaby wrapped in lavender. This is Knossos, the great Minoan palace, but don't expect stone towers and dark dungeons. No, this palace is a poem, open, airy, full of color and light. The walls are painted with dolphins, lilies, and flowing lines that feel like music made visible. As you wander through the halls, you run your fingers along cool plaster and catch glimpses of dancers mid-twirl, their feet pointed like petals in a breeze. It's said the Minoans worshipped goddesses, women with open arms, flanked by doves, snakes, or lions, standing tall and calm like mothers watching over a nursery. In fact, women here played central roles in rituals and society. You see one now in a mural, her waist impossibly narrow, her skirt flaring like a blooming flower, arms outstretched as if inviting the whole world to dance. A soft laughter pulls you toward a garden. There, under the shade of olive trees, people are gathered in a gentle celebration. A flute plays a lilting tune, and someone plucks a harp while children chase butterflies. You're offered a cup of cool pomegranate juice, the rim sticky sweet, and you sip slowly, watching the sunlight dapple across the stone paths. Nearby, a man gently teaches his child to paint a dolphin in blue spirals. The little one's first attempt looks more like a sleepy potato with fins, but the father nods in approval. It swims beautifully, he says. It's a reminder that here, creativity was treasured, not perfected. Even toddlers with wobbly lines were artists. Historians still puzzle over the Minoan language. Linear A, it's called. Elegant symbols pressed into clay tablets, still undeciphered to this day. Was it poetry? Laws? Recipes for fig cakes? No one knows for sure. But the mystery only adds to the magic. It's as if the Minoans left us a letter, tucked under a seashell, and the tide just hasn't brought it back yet. You pause near the grand staircase, where sunlight filters down from above. The steps aren't stiff or imposing. They're soft-edged, made for bare feet and the soft pad of dancers' steps. You descend slowly, imagining priestesses lighting lamps and carrying trays of herbs, their laughter low and musical. The smell of sage and sea salt lingers here, like the world's most peaceful perfume. There's a tiny room tucked behind a curved hallway. Inside, a small shrine holds a clay figure of a woman with raised arms and curling hair. Around her are seashells, feathers, and tiny bells. A breeze slips through the narrow window and makes the bells sing softly. Just one note, like a whispered dream. You rest your hand on the warm stone and feel the echo of 1,000 quiet prayers. Outside, the palace opens into terraces overlooking the sea. You sit for a while, legs swinging gently above sun-warmed rocks. Below, fishermen are mending their nets, their voices easy and content. One of them waves to you and offers a fig. You accept it with a smile, the skin splitting with a soft pop to reveal its ruby heart. It tastes like sunlight. You recall a curious detail you once heard. Minoans may have practiced a ritual involving leaping over bulls. It sounds wild, almost impossible. Grabbing the horns, flipping through the air, and landing gracefully. But some believe it was more symbolic than sporty, a celebration of life's rhythm and courage. Or maybe just a really bold version of hopscotch. Historians still wonder if these scenes were myths or memories. You wander through the fields beyond the palace, where the wildflowers bloom in clusters, red poppies, yellow daisies, and purple crocuses. Bees hum like tiny cellists. You pass a stone fountain shaped like a lion's head, the water cool and clear. A mother rinses a bundle of herbs while her baby splashes nearby, babbling at his reflection. As the sun begins its slow descent, you notice how the whole world seems to sigh in unison. The sea takes on a deeper blue, the hills blush with light, and the cicadas begin their soft, familiar chorus. Evening here isn't something you fall into. It's something that gathers you gently, like a silk shawl over tired shoulders. You return to the village square, just as oil lamps are being lit. The flames flicker golden, and shadows stretch like yawns across the walls. A lullaby drifts from an open window, its melody winding through the streets like a ribbon on the wind. You don't understand the words, but your heart does. It speaks of oceans and olives, stars and safety. A small girl tugs at your sleeve and offers you a flower crown, lopsided and perfect. For the dream, she says with a sleepy grin. You place it on your head and feel instantly more magical. And just like that, Crete lets you go, gently, joyfully, sending you onward through its painted corridors, dancing shadows, and sea-scented dreams, into the next wonder waiting ahead. The sea breeze of Crete lingers for just a moment, like a friend waving goodbye. Then the scent in the air shifts, brinnier now mingled with sun-warmed rope and the sweet tang of fermenting dates. You hear the creak of wood, the flap of canvas sails, and the gentle murmur of waves brushing against the hull of a ship. You're aboard a quiet Phoenician vessel now, swaying gently on moonlit waters, where bedtime stories sail with the tide from sleepy shore to sleepy shore. These ancient sailors, masters of the sea, once stitched the Mediterranean together like a great floating cradle, their boats carved from cedar and their minds full of stars. The Phoenicians weren't warriors or kings. They were traders, wanderers, and whisperers of dreams. You sit on the deck, wrapped in a woven blanket, listening to the soft groan of timbers and the lull of water below. The stars overhead are familiar now, forming constellations you've seen in every sky so far, but here they seem especially bright, used as guides by sailors, who knew the sea like a lullaby knows its chorus. A navigator leans over the edge of the boat, trailing his fingers in the water and murmuring about Orion, about Polaris, about a star path home. You don't know exactly where that is, but somehow you feel like you're heading there. The crew speaks in soft tones, as if afraid to wake the sea gods. They carry cedar wood, purple dye, glass beads, and, most importantly, stories. Every port they reach is another verse in their never-ending song. You spot a child curled up near a coil of rope, holding a carved dolphin toy, eyes fluttering in sleep. Her father gently adjusts her blanket and hums a tune older than sails. Phoenicia wasn't one city. It was a scattering of harbors along today's Lebanon and Syria, Tyre, Sidon, Byblos, each one a candle flickering beside the sea. You arrive at one just as dawn brushes the sky, and the scent of bread baking in clay ovens greets you like a warm hug. The streets are narrow, stone-paved, and quiet. A cat stretches luxuriously on a windowsill. Another watches from a rooftop, looking wise and mildly unimpressed, as cats tend to do. You wander into a market square, just as the shopkeepers are finishing for the day. A woman tucks away bolts of dyed cloth, a deep, rich purple made from thousands of tiny sea snails. The color was so rare and costly, it came to symbolize royalty. She holds one up and wraps it gently around a sleepy infant in her sling. The baby yawns and promptly drools on it. Royal behavior indeed. Nearby, a glassmaker is finishing a row of delicate vials. He shows you how sand, fire, and breath combine to make something that glows in the light. He hands you a tiny bottle with a soft smile. Inside is a bit of rose water, just enough to scent a dream. It was the Phoenicians, by the way, who gave the world something especially precious, letters. Not full words carved in stone or wedges pressed into clay, but phonetic symbols like little puzzle pieces of sound. Their alphabet traveled with them, adaptable and light, like a pocket full of lullabies. Historians still wonder exactly how it spread so widely, so smoothly. Was it the simplicity of the system, or the charm of the storytellers who brought it? As you turn a corner, you pass a mural that tells one such story. A winged creature, half human, half fish, cradles a baby in a shell. Waves curl around them like ribbons. It might be a myth, or just the world's first doodle of a mama mermaid. Either way, you smile. Children run by with spinning tops, their laughter chasing the seagulls into the sky. One boy stops and offers you a small charm, an eye painted on a smooth stone. For protection, he says shyly, against dreams that tickle too much. You thank him with a nod, and he grins before vanishing into the maze of alleyways. As twilight settles, the town quiets. Lamps flicker to life. casting honey-colored light across carved doorways and sleepy courtyards. You find yourself in a garden where the air is full of jasmine and the buzz of drowsy bees. A group gathers around a storyteller who is beginning her tale. Her voice is soft, but it carries. She speaks of Dido, the legendary queen of Carthage, founded, they say, by Phoenician hands. A woman who shaped her destiny with brilliance and bravery. Tonight, though, the storyteller softens the tale. No grand endings, just Dido as a girl, watching ships on the horizon, dreaming of lands yet to come. You lean against a fig tree and listen, the earth warm beneath you, your breath slow. It's strange. These seafaring people left no empires of stone, no pyramids or towering statues. But they left something far softer, the sound of a voice across the water, carrying meaning. The hush of a boat's sail at twilight. The thrill of a gift wrapped in purple silk. The feeling that the sea, like a lullaby, always knows the way home. You make your way back toward the harbor as the moon rises. Lanterns bob gently on the tide. The ship awaits, rocking softly. You climb aboard and nestle into a nook of cushions, the smell of salt and cedar wrapping around you like a dream. A sailor hums under his breath as he folds a sail. Another curls into sleep with his head against a coiled rope. You close your eyes. The boat sways, the stars twinkle, and the Phoenician sea cradles you gently, rocking you toward the next story, waiting just beyond the waves. The sea that carried you with the Phoenicians now begins to shimmer with something even more mysterious, as if the stars above have spilled their secrets into the water below. The ship drifts gently toward a city made of stories, rising from the horizon like a dream told in sandstone and starlight. This is Babylon, ancient and imagined all at once, where sky and earth meet in ziggurats, and gardens dangle like lullabies in the wind. Your boat moors quietly along the Euphrates River. The dock is silent under the moonlight, save for the soft plunk of frogs and the occasional owl hoot from a rooftop perch. You step ashore and notice the air here is rich, like date syrup and myrrh, spiced with warmth and mystery. Every breeze feels like a whisper you can almost understand. You follow a narrow path into the city. Tall, ornately glazed walls rise around you, decorated with lions and bulls. Their colors still vibrant, even in the pale light. You're walking beneath the famous Ishtar Gate now, and though its blue, tiled brilliance is more muted under moonlight, it still feels impossibly grand, as if it's not just an entrance to a city, but to a storybook. Babylon is quieter now than it was in its golden days, but you can still feel the hum of magic beneath the stones. A pair of children, dressed in linen robes and soft sandals, sit on the steps of a small shrine. One hums, while the other braids flower stems into a crown. You pause, and they smile at you shyly. The older one hands you a little clay charm shaped like a lion's paw. "For brave dreams," she says, before scampering off into the shadows. You walk toward the center of the city, where something incredible waits. Not in stone, not in scrolls, but in legend. The hanging gardens, whether they truly existed or were simply the most beautiful bedtime story ancient architects ever dreamed up, no one knows for sure. Historians still wonder if they stood in Babylon at all, or somewhere else entirely. But tonight, for you, they bloom. You find them behind a gently swinging wooden door. A quiet courtyard bursts with green. Trees and flowers stacked, layer upon layer, terrace upon terrace, rising like a stepped lullaby into the sky. Water trickles from unseen fountains, and vines hang down like sleepy arms reaching for an embrace. You climb softly upward, past jasmine, myrtle, pomegranate, and almond trees. Each step brings new scents and sounds: the buzz of bees, the murmur of wind, the rustle of petals in their nighttime dreams. Halfway up, you pause at a ledge overlooking the city. Lanterns glimmer below like fireflies caught in a basket. The rooftops of Babylon sprawl in neat patterns, broken only by the towering ziggurat, a temple pyramid whose top, they say, touched the heavens. You watch as a group of priests climb its stairways with small glowing torches. They're offering starlight back to the stars. You settle beside a small pool in the gardens. The water is still and dark, reflecting the moon and your own peaceful face. A bird, its feathers iridescent even in the dim light, sips from the edge and blinks at you sleepily. The entire garden seems to be holding its breath, caught between waking and dreaming. Near the pool, a young girl gently pats mud around the roots of a fig tree. She hums a lullaby, one that sounds oddly familiar, though you've never heard it before. Her mother joins her, handing her a shallow clay bowl filled with rose petals and floating candles. The girl sets it on the water's surface, and the candlelight wobbles, then steadies. She gives you one too, with a gentle nod. You place yours in the pool and watch it drift. It bobs beside the others like a star learning to swim. Further along the path, a man sits carving letters into a tablet. Not letters like ours, but soft, wedge-shaped symbols, cuneiform. He presses his reed stylus with care, as if every mark holds a secret. You lean closer and see what he's writing. Not a royal decree or list of taxes, but a lullaby. A soft poem for his daughter, about owls and date trees, and dreams that fly on silver wings. He smiles at you and whispers, for when she wakes in the night. The gardens begin to sway gently in the breeze, not the plants, everything, as if the city itself is breathing or remembering. You sit on a stone bench carved with flowers and feel the weight of thousands of years pressing down, not heavily, but like a warm quilt. Babylon has known conquerors and kings, floods and fire. But still this garden grows, the ziggurat glows now, bathed in moonlight. It is said that from the top you can see all the stars and all the past. Some believed it was a bridge to the heavens, a place where gods could come down and tuck the world into bed. You gaze up at it, imagining celestial footsteps and soft, divine humming. A fig falls gently onto the ground beside you with a soft plop. It feels like the garden's version of a goodnight kiss. You smile and take it in your hand. It's warm from the air, fragrant and perfectly ripe. You tuck it into your pocket for later. Even dreams like a snack. As the wind rustles through the trees, you feel a sense of movement, not outward, but inward. Babylon isn't a place you leave, not really. It becomes part of your lullaby, a note in the song of stories passed from voice to voice, heart to heart. You rise and begin to descend through the gardens. The children are asleep now, curled up beside their parents on woven mats. Oil lamps flicker low. Somewhere a harp plays a final fading note. You slip through the swinging gate and back into the moon-washed streets. A final glance at the hanging gardens, and you're not sure if they're real or just one perfect dream that everyone, everywhere, keeps remembering together. And just like that, Babylon leans back into the stars, and your journey sways gently onward into the next story tucked in the folds of history. The echoes of Babylon still shimmer faintly behind you, like stardust on the breeze. When the world begins to shift once again, the terrain changes, greener, hillier, and laced with the perfume of wild thyme and tall cedar trees. You step softly onto a quiet path, cool beneath your feet, and find yourself beneath ancient boughs that stretch toward the sky like gentle guardians. Their trunks are wide enough to wrap you in an embrace, and their branches sway with the wind's whispered secrets. This is the land of ancient Israel, where stories have always lived beside silence, and sacred stillness hums like a lullaby through the hills. You wander into a village nestled between gentle slopes, where stone homes gather like friends around small courtyards. Clay rooftops bask in the soft afternoon sun, and vines curl lazily around wooden doors. Chickens cluck somewhere nearby, and a sleepy goat blinks at you from a shaded wall, clearly deep into a daydream of its own. A mother sings quietly as she kneads dough on a flat stone. The soft thud of her hands is like a heartbeat, steady and soothing. Nearby, her daughter grinds herbs with a wooden pestle, sending the air alight with the scent of mint and hyssop. The family is preparing flatbreads, soft, star-shaped ones, just like the ones you saw back near the Euphrates. These humble loaves, seasoned with olive oil and a sprinkle of salt, seem to follow you from place to place like old friends. A gentle breeze rustles the fig trees. You follow it toward a grove of tall cedars, their needles glittering like green thread in the sunlight. The trees have stood here for centuries, longer perhaps, and many believe they hold memories in their rings. You sit beneath one and run your fingers across the bark, wondering what it might whisper if only you could understand. In the distance, a shepherd calls softly to his flock. His voice is low, melodic. You watch sheep shuffle slowly down the hill, their bells making a faint, musical chime, like a lullaby made of silver. A boy follows them, holding a wooden flute carved with stars. He pauses when he sees you and plays a soft tune, a song so old it doesn't belong to any one place. It floats upward into the branches and settles there like a bird. You stroll into the heart of the village as evening falls, and the golden light makes everything look touched by firefly wings. People are gathering now, bringing stools, cushions, baskets of grapes. In the center of the courtyard, an elder begins to speak, his voice warm and steady as still water. He shares a story that has been told for thousands of years, of kings and dreams, deserts and wells, ladders reaching to heaven. You've heard parts of it before, but here, wrapped in cedar-scented dusk, it feels brand new. Tonight the story is about King Solomon, who asked for wisdom instead of riches. He is said to have spoken to animals, understood the wind, and built a temple so magnificent that its floors sang when you walked across them. Some say his throne had golden lions that purred. Others say he could ride the wind itself. Historians still wonder what was real and what was wonder. But either way, you smile. Any story where wisdom is the greatest treasure makes a perfect bedtime tale. The elder's voice dips lower now, and a hush falls over the crowd. Fireflies blink between fig leaves. A toddler snores gently against her mother's shoulder. The moment is so still, even the stars seem to lean in closer. A woman beside you offers a small woven pouch filled with tiny pomegranate seeds. For dreams that open slowly, she whispers. You pop one in your mouth. It's sweet, tart, and somehow reminds you of laughter you haven't laughed yet. The night deepens, and candles flicker to life one by one, casting soft shadows that dance along the stone walls. A group of children gather near a fountain, floating paper boats in the water. Each boat has a tiny scribbled word inside: peace, hope, joy. One drifts near you and tips over gently, as if bowing goodnight. You find your way back to the cedar grove, where a mat has been laid out just for you, tucked between two ancient roots. Someone has placed a folded shawl there, smelling faintly of rosewater and sun. The stars above are unusually bright, perhaps because this land has always loved stories about them. Some say the heavens once opened here, that angels came and went like guests at a festival. Tonight they seem content just to glow quietly, like lanterns strung between worlds. You curl beneath the shawl, eyes fluttering. The wind through the cedars sounds like a lullaby hummed by time itself. Somewhere nearby, a child sings to a doll made of lavender and cloth. Her voice is light, like bubbles and honey. And just before sleep takes you completely, you hear one final story. A tale of a shepherd long ago who dreamed of stars so numerous they filled every corner of the sky. The storyteller leans close and whispers, "The stars are still counting." Then silence wraps around you, not empty, but full of faith, of tradition, of roots that grow quietly beneath stories that will be told again tomorrow, and tomorrow, and tomorrow. The land of Israel gently folds around you like a soft, sacred quilt, and your dreams, threaded with ancient songs, begin to bloom. The cedar-scented dreams of Israel slowly give way to mist and moss, as the air around you thickens with dew and quiet wonder. You're not sure when the trees changed from towering cedars to shaggy oaks and silver birches, but now the path you follow is soft with damp earth and scattered with tiny white flowers that look like stars fallen from the sky. A cool fog weaves between the trunks like a curious spirit, and the hush here is so deep you almost feel like tiptoeing. You've arrived in the ancient Celtic lands, long before castles and knights, back when the people lived in round stone huts nestled into green hills and trusted the whispers of the wind. You pass under an arch of twisting branches, and a small wooden sign points the way with a carved spiral to the circle. Following it, you come upon a clearing where giant stones stand in a perfect ring. Some lean gently, others stand proud and straight, but all are quiet, ancient, peaceful. They seem to hum softly, as if they're remembering something they've never forgotten. You walk into the circle and stand in the center. The air feels different here, like a held breath. You stretch out your arms and the wind wraps around you like a silk shawl. No one truly knows why these stone circles were made. Some say they were calendars, tracking the sun and stars. Others believe they were gathering places for song and story. And there are those who whisper still that fairies danced here when the moon was full. Historians still wonder what ceremonies once echoed off these stones, but tonight they seem content just to hold your dreams. A robin sings from a hawthorn tree nearby. You walk toward it and find a tiny village nestled into the hillside, as if grown from the earth itself. Roofs are thatched with straw and moss. Smoke rises lazily from peat fires, and soft woolen blankets flutter on lines in the breeze. A child runs past you with a reed flute, chasing a shaggy white sheep that clearly thinks it's winning. A woman with flowers in her braid sits beside a bubbling brook, dyeing yarn in pots of golden gorse and deep indigo. She waves you over and hands you a bundle of soft wool, still warm from the sun. For dreams that need wrapping, she says with a wink. You wander into the village center where a group has gathered around a glowing fire. Someone is playing a harp carved from yew wood, and its strings shimmer with music so tender it feels like your bones are humming along. The melody is slow and curling, like the smoke from the fire, rising, twisting, disappearing. An elder begins to speak in a lilting voice, her words rolling like water over stones. She tells of Brigid, the goddess of spring and hearth, poetry and healing. Brigid lights the fire in your home and the one in your heart, she says, poking the embers with a stick. In one story, Brigid hangs a shawl in the morning dew, and by afternoon it can heal any wound. In another, she sings a song so sweet that even the bitterest warriors lay down their swords just to listen. You sip a warm drink, handed to you in a carved wooden cup, sweetened oats, milk, and a touch of honey. It tastes like childhood and bedtime and comfort all at once. A little girl curls into your lap, her hands holding a doll stuffed with wool and lavender. She's already dozing, one thumb in her mouth, her breath slow and even. You lift your gaze and see fireflies flickering through the fog. Or perhaps, are those fairy lights? No one here seems surprised. In fact, they leave bowls of cream by the door just in case. It's polite, someone whispers, smiling. Whether it's for wandering cats or something more magical, no one says. You walk out into the fields where sheep snore quietly, their wool faintly glowing in the moonlight. A man is gathering herbs with careful hands, mugwort, chamomile, valerian. For dreams, he explains, and tucks a sprig behind your ear. It smells earthy, sleepy, and just a little wild. On a nearby hill, stones form a spiral on the ground. You walk it slowly, step by step, toward the center. With each turn, the world gets softer. By the time you reach the middle, the fog feels like a blanket. And just when you think you're alone, a voice murmurs beside you. Every dream has roots. Some go all the way back to the stars. You look, but no one's there. Just the sound of the breeze through the grass and the whisper of wings overhead. A white owl flies silently across the sky, and you remember the charm shaped like a lion's paw, the rose petal candles, the songs, the stones. You begin to walk back, winding out of the spiral. The fog lifts a little, just enough to see the glow of the village again. Fires low, windows warm, stories still spinning and hushed voices inside. Before you go, someone hands you a charm, a tiny spiral carved from bone. To help you remember the way back, she says. Even if you never return, you slip it into your pocket beside the fig, the lion paw, the dreams you're still carrying, and then you follow the fireflies, or fairies, or simply your own heart into the mist, where the next story waits just over the hill, humming softly beneath the moss. The misty hills of the Celts slowly dissolve behind you, replaced by warm, humid air that smells of orchids and earth after rain. The night is alive here, but not in a loud way, more like a lullaby sung by the jungle itself. Crickets chirp like tiny percussionists, or frogs croon from hidden pools, and somewhere in the canopy above, a monkey yawns mid-swing. You've arrived in the ancient lands of the Maya, wrapped in vines, stars, and stories too big for the sky. You step into a clearing where a city rises out of the jungle like a dream half-remembered. Tall stone pyramids stretch toward the heavens, their steps worn smooth by centuries of feet. Moss and flowers grow between the stones, decorating them with nature's soft embroidery. You feel a hush here, not from silence, but from reverence, as though the jungle itself is holding its breath. A woman greets you at the base of the pyramid, her long, dark hair braided with tiny feathers. She smiles and gestures upward. "Come see where the stars live," she whispers, and begins to climb. Each step is wide and shallow, and the climb feels almost like floating. By the time you reach the top, the sky has unfolded entirely, clear and endless, dusted with more stars than you knew existed. Below, the jungle hums. Above, constellations shimmer in patterns only the Maya truly understood. The woman sits beside you, pointing toward the sky. "That's the scorpion," she says. "It marks when we plant the corn." You glance again and suddenly see it, its curved tail made of starlight. Here, time is written in the stars, in the shadows of pyramids, and in the bloom of flowers that only open when the moon is right. Historians still puzzle over the Mayan calendar's eerie precision. How do they know the movements of Venus, the exact timing of solar eclipses? Some suggest advanced observation, others divine inspiration. Either way, it feels like magic, as if time was a song they could hear, and they simply hummed along. You descend gently and walk into the heart of the city. Wide plazas stretch like soft stone blankets, and people move with calm intention. You pass murals of kings and jaguars, celestial serpents and corn gods, painted in reds, blues, and golds that still gleam after all these years. Children play near a stepped temple, balancing baskets of fruit on their heads and giggling when they wobble. You find yourself in a market shaded by woven palm leaves. There are tamales wrapped in fragrant leaves, cacao ground into warm, spiced drinks, and small toys carved from obsidian and jade. A boy hands you a tiny flute shaped like a bird. When you blow gently, it sings like a warbler at dawn. He nods solemnly, as if to say, "Yes, dreams deserve music too." A woman in a long embroidered dress offers you a corn cake wrapped in petals. "For clear dreaming," she says. It's warm and soft, slightly sweet, and vanishes like a thought before you even finish chewing. Near the market's edge, you come upon a ball court. The players wear padded belts and look like dancers mid-prayer. They move in silence, using only their hips to pass the heavy rubber ball back and forth, back and forth. The sun casts long shadows across the court, and the game feels less like sport and more like ritual, an offering to the gods of sky and underworld. And speaking of underworlds, the Maya believed in one, deep and dark and humming with energy. But don't worry, it's not scary here. In fact, you're told the underworld was more of a place of transformation. Rivers ran through it, and flowers bloomed in its shadows. It was simply another part of the journey, like sleep after a long day. You wander into a small temple tucked beneath blooming trees. Inside, a priest paints glyphs onto a wall using crushed berries and ash. He explains that each symbol is a word, and each word a tiny poem. Our writing, he says, is how we speak to tomorrow. You trace a few glyphs with your fingers, one shaped like a jaguar paw, another like a corn husk, another like a rising sun. They feel familiar, like lullabies your bones already know. Outside, dusk melts into night, and the air fills with the scent of copal incense, smoky and sweet, like the end of a cozy fire. People begin gathering around low fires, spreading woven blankets, and sharing sweet roasted plantains. A grandmother sings as she rocks a baby, her voice deep and soft as velvet. She sings of Ixchel, the moon goddess who watches over mothers, weavers, and healing waters. Some stories say she invented childbirth. Others say she turns into a rabbit and hides in the moon's shadows. She likes dreams, the grandmother says, smiling. She keeps them safe in her braid. You look up and sure enough the moon is full tonight. And if you squint, yes, there might just be a rabbit hiding there. Your eyes grow heavy as you lie back against a woven mat, warm from the fire. The stars above you pulse softly, like a heartbeat in the sky. You remember the wool charm from the Celtic spiral, the lion's paw from the sands, and the gentle story of a king who chose wisdom. Tonight, in the land of pyramids and stars, your dreams grow roots and branches, anchored in stone, watered by myth, and lit by the oldest lights in the universe. Sleep comes slowly, like a feather settling, and you drift off with a smile on your lips and stardust on your fingertips. The stars of the Maya sky slowly give way to a softer light, one that flickers like candle flames and dapples the earth through grapevines and olive trees. You stretch and blink, finding yourself on a gentle hillside where the earth smells of rain, wild herbs, and something faintly sweet, like honeyed figs or bread baked in stone ovens. You've arrived in the ancient world of the Etruscans, tucked like a secret between the rolling hills of early Italy. This isn't Rome, not yet. This is the world before the empire, full of painted tombs, golden jewelry, and celebrations that go on until the stars forget they're supposed to set. You walk a winding path through rows of vines heavy with dusky purple grapes. A sleepy donkey munches lazily in the shade, and birds sing as if they're gossiping with the breeze. In the distance, the rooftops of a hilltop town shimmer under the late afternoon sun, terracotta tiles glowing like embers, each house a different hue of peach or clay. An old man waves you over from beneath a fig tree. "You must be tired," he says, offering you a slice of flatbread drizzled with oil and sprinkled with rosemary. Eat, rest, and dream. You sit on a carved stone bench beside him, and the bread is warm in your hands, soft and fragrant, like memories baked into every bite. He tells you about the Etruscans' love of life, how they painted scenes of dancing and music on the walls of their tombs as if to say, the party doesn't stop just because you've left the room. And it's true, nearby, a stone doorway leads to an underground chamber glowing with soft torchlight. Inside, frescoes bloom across the walls, couples reclining on couches, musicians playing pipes, and tables overflowing with fruit, bread, and wine. You step inside and the temperature drops just slightly, cool like a cave but not unfriendly. There's no fear here, only peace. A woman painted on the wall smiles as if she's about to invite you to join her. Even underground, the Etruscans believed in beauty, color, and companionship. Historians still debate where the Etruscans came from. Some say they were native to the region. Others that they sailed from across the sea, bringing stories and traditions from lands now forgotten. Their language remains partly mysterious. Some words are understood, others float like half-heard lullabies between history's pages. Outside again, you find yourself wandering into a small workshop filled with bronze and clay. A young girl shapes a tiny horse from red earth. Her hands stain the color of sunset. "For my brother," she says shyly, "to keep him safe when he dreams," and she hands you a second one, just as small, just as lovingly made. "And this one is for you You tuck the clay horse into your satchel beside the spiral charm, the lion's paw, the feathered flute, and the soft wrapped wool. Your dream satchel is getting full, but dreams have a way of making space for more. Evening falls slowly here, like a soft curtain drawn over the hills. Lights flicker in windows, and laughter spills out of open courtyards where families share long meals on stone terraces. You join one, welcomed like a cousin, returning from a far journey. A platter of roasted vegetables, olives, and sweet chestnuts appears in front of you. Children chase fireflies between the columns, their giggles echoing like bells. A storyteller arrives with hair like silken smoke and a voice that flows like warm wine. She tells of the goddess Uni, protector of women and fate, who spins gold threads from moonlight and weaves them into every newborn's blanket. Even if you can't see it, she says with a wink, it's always there, hidden in the folds. She speaks of sea gods with fish tails and stormy moods, and of Vanth, the winged spirit who gently guides souls from one dream to the next. She doesn't rush, the storyteller explains. She waits until you're ready. A soft wind rustles the ivy, and you spot a stone carving, a lion with wings, guarding the threshold of an old temple. You walk toward it, and in the distance, the temple itself glows golden in the fading light. Not grand, not cold, just welcoming. Inside, garlands hang from the ceiling, and candles flicker beside tiny offerings, carved apples, coins, and tiny woven shoes. You hear music again, soft flutes, gentle lyres, and the rhythmic clap of dancers' hands. A procession begins, led by children with flower crowns, their feet bare and joyful. You follow them through the vineyard, under the stars now shining full and content above. At the end of the path, a soft field opens before you, dotted with fireflies and low stone walls. Blankets are spread out, and people recline together, some sharing food, others telling jokes or humming lullabies. Someone hands you a pillow stuffed with lavender and herbs. You lie down, gazing up at the sky. You think of all the places you've visited so far, each one leaving a story in your pocket, each one adding a brush stroke to the mural of your dreams. The warm earth cradles your back. A fig leaf flutters down, landing on your chest like a bookmark in a well-loved tale. And just before your eyes close, you hear one more whisper from the breeze. Celebrate everything, even sleep. The Etruscan fireflies blink their last goodnight as dawn paints the sky in shades of rose and honey. You stir gently, the lavender pillow still cradling your head. But now the scent of figs and roasted chestnuts gives way to something brighter. Lemons, crushed thyme, and the distant hum of bees. The sound of sandals on stone and water trickling from fountains draws you forward. You've arrived in ancient Athens, not the booming, statuesque city of conquests and speeches, but a gentler version, where the days are slow and the air is filled with thoughtful wonder. Here, wisdom wears a wide-brimmed hat and picks olives with one hand while reciting poetry with the other. You step through a sun-warmed courtyard where vines curl around marble columns like lazy cats. Children play a hopping game, tossing polished pebbles across sun-baked tiles. One of them spots you and waves you into their circle. "You're just in time," he says, offering a smile and a handful of honeyed almonds. "We're waiting for the story lady." The story lady arrives with a basket of figs and a scarf wrapped high in her curls. She settles on a worn stone bench and the children gather at her feet. You join them, your shoulders relaxing under the lemon-scented breeze. She begins, "Once the goddess Athena planted an olive tree on this very hill. It was a gift, not for war but for peace, for nourishment, for dreams. The other gods offered gold and power, but she offered roots, and so Athens was born." You glance around, half expecting the tree to still be there, and perhaps it is. Or perhaps every olive branch in the city is descended from that first one. You stroll through narrow streets lined with houses painted in soft blues and chalky whites. A woman leans out of her window to water a pot of basil, smiling as you pass. Below, a potter spins his wheel, shaping a tiny cup painted with dolphins and vines. He nods to you and says, "For sipping dreams." At the Agora, the bustling heart of the city, you walk past stalls selling figs, fresh bread, and little clay owls. A man hands you one. "For wisdom," he winks. "You'll need it when you wake." In a shaded corner, beneath a tree heavy with apricots, a group of older men debate gently. Their conversation isn't loud or angry. It flows like a lazy river, full of musings and maybes. "What is beauty?" one asks. "Maybe it's the shape of a sleeping baby's cheek," another replies. "Or the way shadows dance under olive leaves," adds a third. Historians still debate what life was really like in ancient Athens. Was democracy truly for all? Were women mostly silent or secretly influential? Like a soft breeze through columns? The truth shifts depending on where you stand. But what's clear is that the Athenians believed in ideas. Not just big ones, like justice and philosophy, but little ones too, like how to make better sandals, or why fig trees should be planted near fountains. You wander toward a sunlit schoolyard, more like a garden, really. Under the shade of mulberry trees, a teacher sits cross-legged on the grass, students leaning on their elbows, listening. They're not memorizing dates or reciting rules. They're imagining. "If the soul had wings," the teacher says, "where would it fly while we dream?" One boy answers, "To the moon to taste the cheese." Another says, "To the sea, to ride a dolphin's back." The teacher laughs. Both fine answers. You settle onto the grass and let your own mind wander. Maybe your soul is already flying, softly gathering starlight and time, storing it in pockets you don't know you have. Later you sit by a public fountain where cold water burbles over smooth stone. Women gather here, sharing jokes and gossip, washing linens and braiding each other's hair. A girl no older than 10 turns to you with a serious expression. "If you could ask the oracle anything," she says, "what would it be?" You think for a moment. Maybe something silly like, "Where do missing socks go?" Or something tender like, "Will my baby always feel safe in the world?" But before you answer, she shrugs. She'd probably just answer with a riddle anyway. A fluffy orange cat hops up beside you, tail high, and curls into your lap like it's always belonged there. You pet it absently, listening to the gentle splash of the fountain and the hush of voices under the sun. Evening comes wrapped in golden clouds and the scent of roasted eggplant. You follow the sound of music to an open terrace where a family is finishing dinner. They wave you in without question, because in ancient Athens, a wandering soul is always a guest, never a stranger. They pass you a bowl of lentils and warm barley bread, and a child presses a flower into your palm. "For your satchel," she says, "so you don't forget us." As twilight deepens, someone begins to sing, a song older than the city itself, soft as a lullaby. The stars blink into place above the rooftops, and lanterns flicker like fireflies tethered to the ground. You find yourself reclining on a woven mat beneath a fig tree. The mat is cool, the tree whispery. Beside you, the old clay owl from the market sits watching, silent and wise. You reach into your dream satchel and feel the gifts you've gathered. The flute, the spiral, the lion's paw, the star map, and now this tiny flower, still warm from the little girl's hand. The wind carries one last whisper from the olive hills. Wisdom isn't about knowing, it's about wondering. And with that gentle thought, your eyelids fall closed. The fig tree's leaves rustle a final goodbye as you drift gently onward. Your body feels lighter, your thoughts soft around the edges, like moonlight through linen. A new scent reaches you now, sweet sandalwood mingled with crushed jasmine and ripe mangoes. Drums pulse low and slow in the distance, like a heartbeat coming through the earth. You're somewhere warm again, warmer than Athens, brighter than Babylon. You open your eyes to find yourself beneath a banyan tree, its aerial roots trailing down like strands of a story not yet finished. Welcome to the ancient Tamil kingdoms, where the breeze carries poems, temple bells, and lullabies written in the rhythm of monsoon rains. A child greets you with a garland of marigolds. "We've been expecting you," she says, with a smile as wide as the river. She tucks the garland around your neck, and it smells of sunlight and turmeric and good dreams. And her mother waves you inside a shaded courtyard filled with chirping parakeets and carved pillars, shaped like elephants' vines and dancers caught mid-step. This isn't a single kingdom, but a tapestry of them, Cholas, Pandyas, and Cherhas, each one weaving songs, trade, and love letters into the wind. Traders come here not just for spices and jewels, but for poetry. Yes, poetry. For in this land, poets are stars, and stars are teachers. They say the oldest love poems on earth were penned here in verse so soft, it can be whispered to a baby and still echo into history. As you sip coconut water from a clay cup, a young man recites a verse from the Sangam texts, words written thousands of years ago. She sleeps beside me, but the moonlight between us makes me miss her all over again. You blink, surprised at how deeply those words land, so ancient, and yet so tender. The temple drums begin again, low and slow. You follow their pull through narrow streets bustling with the gentle rhythm of everyday life. Women draw kolam patterns on the ground with rice flour, intricate designs meant to welcome prosperity and keep away wandering spirits. You pause to watch one finish a star-shaped pattern. She hands you a small bag of flour. "Make your own tonight," she says, "so your dreams don't get lost on the way." Historians still wonder how these early Tamil societies balanced such sophistication in trade and literature with the humble, deeply rooted rhythms of daily life. Cities like Madurai and Kaviripattinam thrived with bustling markets and sea routes, yet their stories speak most often of love, friendship, and longing, quiet things. In a temple shaded by flowering trees, you hear soft chanting. The air smells of camphor and jasmine. Inside, oil lamps flicker before statues of deities adorned with silks and gold. But the atmosphere is not solemn. It's playful, like the gods are amused to have visitors. A priest gently places a sandalwood mark on your forehead. "May your mind wander wisely," he says with a wink. Outside again, you walk beside the great Kaveri River. Her waters are calm tonight, moonlight pooling like liquid silver. A grandmother sits weaving flower garlands by the shore. She invites you to sit beside her. "Do you know the lullaby of the mango tree?" she asks. You shake your head, and she sings it for you, softly, in Tamil, the syllables falling like petals. "Sleep now, little seed. The monsoon is far, but coming. Grow strong in dreams." You feel yourself swaying with the rhythm, the warmth of the evening pressing gently against your skin, like a soft cotton surrey. Nearby, a group of dancers practices under the stars. They move like poetry made visible, every gesture delicate, every step precise. One dancer, no older than 12, invites you to try. She teaches you a simple pose, hands forming a lotus blossom, feet grounded in the red earth. "Dance tells stories when words fall asleep," she says, and you believe her. Later, as the night deepens, a storyteller gathers people around a bonfire. He begins with a tale of the Chola king, who once ruled not only land but also time, who built temples that could harness the sun and whose ships brought back gold, cinnamon, and songs from lands beyond the horizon. "But do you want to know his secret?" the storyteller asks. The children lean forward, eyes wide. "He always listened to his mother before battle. She braided his hair with flowers and whispered, 'Be soft first, then be strong.' There's laughter and clapping, and the fire pops, sending a swirl of sandalwood smoke into the air. You sit back, eyes half closed, the warmth of the flames cradling you like an old story told on a rainy day. From your satchel you pull the rice flour bag, the flower from Athens, the clay owl, and the tiny horse from Etruria. You arrange them before you in a tiny circle, like guardians of your dream world. The girl who gave you the marigold garland earlier returns with a folded cloth bundle. Inside is a little bronze bell. For your dreams, she says. Ring it if they ever get too quiet. You hold it in your palm. It's light but full of promise. When you gently shake it, it doesn't chime. It hums, like the earth itself clearing its throat. As you lie down beneath the banyan tree, the firelight flickering behind your eyelids, you feel the breeze shift, the same breeze that once carried verses across oceans and lullabies through mountain passes. You breathe in deeply, filling your chest with sandalwood, mango leaves, and old, sweet songs. And just before you drift off, one last line floats through the night like firefly light. Sleep gently. You are the poem tonight. The warmth of sandalwood still lingers in your chest as the wind begins to shift again. This time, cooler, crisper. It carries a rustling sound like soft fur brushing across tall grass, and the quiet chime of something distant, maybe bells, or laughter tucked beneath a woolen blanket. You open your eyes beneath a dome of stars so clear you feel like you could pluck one down and place it in your pocket. Around you stretch vast open plains, silvered by moonlight and sprinkled with snow-dusted grasses that sway gently, as if the earth itself is breathing calmly in sleep. Welcome to the ancient steppe, where nomads drift like clouds across the land, following the winds, the herds, and the whispers of old stories. A round felt yurt glows softly nearby, lit from within like a lantern. Its door flap stirs in the breeze, inviting you in. Inside, a woman wrapped in layers of soft fur offers you a bowl of fermented mare's milk and a seat on a wool-covered cushion. The room smells of pine smoke and leather, warm and earthy. She points to a spot beside her and says, "This is the storytelling place." The room falls into a soft hush. An elder begins to speak, not loudly, but with the quiet gravity of someone unspooling something sacred. There once was a girl who spoke with the wind. he says. She could hear it before storms, before songs, even before dreams. Her people listened to her, for she always knew when to move, when to wait, and when to stay perfectly still. You listen entranced. Outside, the wind picks up, curling around the yurt like a sleepy dragon. The flaps sway rhythmically, echoing the beat of your own steady breath. Historians still wonder about these nomadic societies, how they mapped entire empires without stone cities, or how their children learned the stars not from books, but by lying on their backs and watching the sky turn. Some argue these people were fierce warriors, but here in the quiet night, there's no sign of battle, only the peace of families who know that movement is its own kind of home. You step outside and look up. The constellations are different here, sharper, colder, but no less magical. A boy points upward and says, "That one's the dear mother. She carries the moon in her antlers." You look, and yes, there she is, her shape carved in stars, watching over travelers. Beside you, a man unrolls a painted scroll. It's filled with horses, birds, and strange symbols. He taps one that looks like a spiral and says, "This is the symbol for safe passage." He hands you a tiny carved token in the same shape. "Keep it in your dream satchel," he says, "for long journeys." You thank him and press it gently beside your bronze bell and flower. A reindeer herd trots past in the distance, their breath puffing into clouds. Bells tied to their antlers jingle softly, blending into the hush of snow. A girl with a fur hat down to her eyebrows hums a lullaby. She tells you it's about the first snowflake, who wanted to be a star instead, but fell from the sky by accident, and learned to love the earth anyway. You smile, feeling the poetry in that. The people here sleep in shifts, always someone awake to tend the fire or sing to the stars. You join a small group beside a glowing brazier, roasting root vegetables and sharing stories. One woman offers you a slice of bread baked on hot stones. It's shaped like a star and tastes like smoky butter and barley dreams. Someone pulls out a 2-stringed instrument. Its sound high, haunting and tender. It tells a story without words, and your eyes mist just a little. Or maybe that's the cold. You curl into a thick woolen blanket, the kind that smells faintly of cedar and rain. One of the elders sees your sleepy gaze and whispers, "Our ancestors believed that dreams were woven on looms made of wind and memory." You nod, barely awake. That sounds true, doesn't it? The wind outside quiets. Even the yurt seems to sigh. You place the spiral token gently into your satchel and pull it close. From inside, it glows faintly, as if all the gifts you've gathered so far, poems, patterns, stories, are keeping watch while you rest. And just before you fall asleep, you feel a whisper on your cheek, warm despite the cold. Even in the vastest places, you are never alone. The hush of the steppe lingers, like frost clinging gently to your eyelashes. But now the earth beneath you softens. The air thickens just a little, with the scent of pine bark and chimney smoke. You feel warmth in your fingertips, and the familiar tug of something deeply human. Home. Your path leads into the dense, peaceful woodlands of early northern Europe, where longhouses huddle like sleepy animals beneath snow-dusted roofs, and smoke curls up into a sky filled with slow-moving clouds. You've arrived in the twilight hush of a winter evening, just as the first lanterns begin to glow golden through wooden shutters. A pair of mittens, hand-woven from thick, scratchy wool, are pressed into your palms by a child bundled like a walking pillow. You'll need these, he giggles. His breath puffs into the air like little clouds. You thank him and slide them on. They smell faintly of pine needles and warm porridge. In these early northern villages, the day is short but full. Fires are already crackling, stew pots bubble on iron hooks, and someone is always chopping something. Wood, roots, old stories that get told and retold beside the hearth. The villagers greet you quietly, not with a chorus, but with nods and mugs of something warm. Inside the longhouse, it's dim but comforting. Animal hides hang on the walls, and hand-carved runes are etched into the beams. You run your fingers over one. It's a spiral again, a symbol you remember from the steppe, a promise of safe passage. A grandmother stirs the fire and pats a seat beside her. Come, she says. We've been waiting for one more. You settle in as she pulls a carved totem from beneath a woven cloth. It looks like a bear, but with wings. This was my mother's, she says softly. She said it watched over dreams that weren't ready to be born yet. You nod. You understand? The longhouse fills slowly with neighbors, cousins, grandfathers, and little ones. They sit close, the kind of closeness that comes from long winters and shared stories. A young woman with braids down her back begins to hum, a tune you somehow already know. She sings of the northern lights being the brush strokes of ancient spirits, painting the sky to remind the earth of its magic. Outside, the first flickers of green begin to dance in the sky, soft and silent, like whispers on velvet. Historians still wonder how these early northern peoples navigated such darkness, so many long nights with no sun. But maybe it was never darkness to them. Maybe it was simply a season for stories, for dreaming deeper, for waiting with gentleness. Their calendars were carved in wood, their time marked by solstices and snowmelt, and their rituals were rooted in patience. You're handed a bowl of thick berry porridge and a wooden spoon. It's sweet and sour and earthy all at once, and it warms you from the inside out. Someone wraps a fur around your shoulders. Now you look like one of us, they say with a wink. Later, you step outside with a few others to light small lanterns and place them in the snow. They're snow lanterns, a child explains. They guide the dreams back home. You watch the warm, little globes glow against the deepening blue of the sky, their light soft and steady. You walk quietly to the edge of the forest, where carved poles stand like guardians, each topped with a figure, owl, elk, bear, and one that looks curiously like a fish with stars for eyes. A boy points to that one. He's the dream finder, he whispers. He keeps the ones we forget. The pine trees sway gently above, snow drifting from their branches in slow, silent flurries. You lie back in the snow and look up just as a streak of light flashes across the sky. A shooting star. Or maybe just a spirit on its way to pain again. From your satchel, you take out each treasure. The owl from Mesopotamia, the bronze bell from Tamil lands, the star bread from the steppe. You lay them in the snow and add one final piece, a tiny carved, bear-wing totem given to you by the grandmother inside. Around the objects, you trace a spiral in the snow with your mittened finger, and then you breathe, deep, slow grounding. These dreams have taken you far. But they were never about distance. They were about the quiet places in time where people listened, danced, sang and wondered, where the first lullabies met the first stars, where homes were carved in stone or built from hides, but always, always filled with stories. And just before you drift into the deepest sleep of all, A voice inside the wind murmurs something warm and slow. You carry them now, the calm, the songs, the old wonder. Let them cradle you. The lanterns still flicker gently in the snow behind your closed eyes. Their warmth pulses slowly, like the last moments of a lullaby. You feel the satchel tucked close to your heart, filled not with weight but with wonder, light as feathers, timeless as stars. Breathe in again, slowly. The air is cool, soft, and silvered with dream dust. You are safe. You are so deeply safe. Let your thoughts drift now, not forward, not back, just gently sideways, into a space made for resting. Imagine a world lit only by moonlight and storylight, where grandmothers still hum to the fire and rivers still sing their ancient names. The wind has quieted. Even the trees have gone still, as if holding their breath for your peace. And up above, 1,000 tiny lights wait quietly in the sky, softening their glow just for you. You have wandered with the wise, walked with dancers, slept beneath banyan trees and steppe skies. You've gathered fragments of forgotten lullabies and tucked them beside your dreams. So now, precious dreamer, let go. There's nothing left to do, nowhere else to be. Just the deep rhythmic hush of your own breath and the sweetness of rest gently wrapping around you like a soft, endless blanket. Let the stories hold you now. Let the quiet cradle you. Let sleep carry you gently home. Sweet dreams.